Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you, the conference, for having me here. It's an honor also to be here on this very long conference as a history. So today I'm gonna talk to you about ACASAT. Okay, so it's a competition. I'll tell you. You basically have to hack a satellite. Okay, so I'm gonna discuss how we did that. Few words on me. I'm Mario. I used to be a professor. I just left university to actually go and do security in a space sector. Now I take care of ground stations. I did a PhD on malware analysis mostly, but the things that I mostly love is playing capture the flag competition. I've been doing that since 2008. I was barely 18 then. And I'm still doing that with many teams, and those are the logos of all the teams that at some point been doing stuff with. Okay, so that's a huge part of what I do. It's mostly on my free time, but I take free stuff like very seriously. So I spend a lot of time in doing capture the flag. One of the most famous competition in capture the flag is called DEF CON CTF because it's the oldest one and the most prestigious one. And I was trying to get into that competition since 2008. Okay, and always failing to do so because it's extremely hard and extremely competitive. And I was trying to do that with my team in the university that is called Tower of Hanoi at Politecnico di Milano. In 2008, I met other friends in the Italian university, okay, and we all had this goal of going and playing this extremely hard competition. So we joined together to build a team that is called Maccheroni, okay? And it's Maccheroni because all the teams were Italian, so we felt the name was appropriate. So Maccheroni was born in 2008 with the goal of playing this hard competition, and we have been doing that since then. We had a few changes, so I mean, when we started, everybody was basically a student, okay, 2018. We keep doing that. Many graduated, and we have to keep people coming and playing. It takes a lot of effort to do that, so we need, as my friend said, fresh blood every year to expand in the competition. So we've been adding other teams to Maccheroni since then. Few words on what are those competitions, okay? Why I care and why they're extremely fun to play, very not fun to watch, to be honest. I mean, the result is very nice, okay? The idea of capture the flag is that it's an IT security-oriented competition, okay? And the goal is quite easy, and that's why it's beautiful. There is a system, an application, whatever, and this system contains some sensitive data, okay? We call this sensitive data a flag, okay? And the goal of the competitors, that they usually are the attackers, is to retrieve this data from this system. Okay, that's the basic of the game. Sensitive data is there. If you go there and get it, you get points. Who get most points win. Okay, and this can be declined in many things with many different games and meta games. Okay, that have been developed in the year. There is the classic version of this competition that is called Jeopardy. Okay, it came from the American game Jeopardy, where you have a category, you pick the question on that category, history, science, whatever. Okay, you have category on the subject, and then you answer to this category. And we have the same in Capture the Flag, but the categories are different, okay? You may choose a problem on crypto that usually is, for example, either a crypto system where you need to break into, or an encrypted message that you need to to decrypt, but also web application, reverse engineering, okay, or my favorite category that is called pawn, that is basically binary exploitation. Okay, so the idea is you get a binary. This binary is running on a system. There is a vulnerability there. The organizer intentionally put a vulnerability in the system, and you spend between 2 and 40 hours actually reading the binary and trying to exploit it. Okay, and when I mean 40, I mean literally 40 hours on a single problem. That's the effort that he needs to get to in those things. There is a slightly different version. So in the first type of competition, this Jeopardy, basically the organizer are the defender of the system. They build the system, and the competitors are the attacker. Okay, this means that you need to attack the system. And there is another version that is called attack and defense, where basically each competitors own one vulnbox of services with multiple services. Basically, let me get the pointer. Okay, so basically each vulnbox contains multiple services. Okay, and each team host one of these vulnbox. They are all the same at the beginning, and the goal is to defend your system, your vulnbox, and attack the others. And in this case, the organizer, they basically handle a bot. Okay, so basically there is an automated system that use each service to check if the service is actually working or not. Okay, and leave the sensitive data in the system so that then the attackers, the player, can retrieve. And this is done every few minutes that are called rounds. Okay, every round the bot goes around, check that the system is working. And this is fundamental. You need something to check if the system is working, because otherwise you just shut down everything and nobody can attack you, right? So we still need to have system. We need availability in the system, otherwise they are useless. And then you go on the system, and then you analyze the service, you write exploits, and then attack every other player that there is on the network. Okay, and there is a lot of effort there because you don't want to do this manually. So what teams actually do, they have systems, they have attackers where you automate the attacker. You read the traffic, okay, of others attacking you, so that you can steal their exploits. Okay. Usually, what I say to newcomers is, we write one exploit, we steal all the others. Okay. It's easier to steal the exploit in this case than writing it. This is way more complicated game. It's also extremely harder to host, right? Because there are many more things that can go wrong. Okay. And those are the classic, I would say, of capture the flag. What have been around for decades. And then a few years ago, there was this new thing. It was called ACASAT. So ACASAT was basically a project by the Air Force Department from the United States, done in the AFRL lab. Okay, AFR is basically the lab who invented the GPS. Okay, and the goal was to basically bring people, hacking community, into the space industry to go and check how the security in space is going. Okay, so they built this project with the idea of doing 4 editions. Okay, with cash prizes. Okay. And so in this type of competition, there are cash prizes, but usually they are not the main goal. Okay, we don't play capture the flag for the money. We play it because it's fun, at least to me. But in this case, the amount of money they put it in as a prize was considerably higher than we used to see. So basically, each team qualifying, I'll explain the qualifier later, will get 10 grants, and then for the finals, the first place will get $50,000 for winning it. So what was basically a capture the flag on space system. Okay, that's the goal of ACASAT. I was saying there was 4 editions. Okay, and with the idea of increasing the complexity of the system and the competition itself. So the first year, the competition was based on a flat sat. It's basically a reproduction of a real satellite, but on Earth. So you take all the systems that there are on the satellites, okay? You put it on a bench, you plug in a network, and that's your flat sat, okay? So the competition was played on a flat sat. It means that the services were running on this flat sat. Second year, it was an attack and defense competition. So basically, each team had one flat sat to attack and defend from the other. Okay. Third year was still attack and defense, but was built on a prototype of the Moonlighter. Okay. The Moonlighter is basically a CubeSat, a satellite that was built for this competition, and then was used in the last edition, the 4th, where basically this satellite was launched in orbit, and the last competition was played attacking this satellite orbiting Earth. Okay, so the services were actually running on this orbiting thing. And with my teams, we played each year, and we didn't qualify until the 4th. Okay, so every year we were playing. So in this competition, usually teams are quite big. Depends on the team, but we are talking like 30, 40 people, okay? And in the first 3 years, nobody was really interested in the satellite, so we were playing in 6, 7 people, and always getting short from qualifier, like first out of the qualification, okay? Last year, because there was we had the chance to attack a satellite in orbit, we bring in everybody, the full team. Okay, and we managed. So in this type of competition, usually before actually accessing the real competition, there is a qualifier events, because there are a lot of people actually trying to participate and actually get to the final. This means that there is a selection that needs to be done, and you usually want to bring only the best teams, right? So that you have the best best competition. Why you need to bring down the number of participants is because hosting this type of competition is extremely hard, in the sense that you need to build a system, okay, that is intentionally broken, okay, that has intentional vulnerabilities, but also that doesn't completely melt down, okay? So the other thing is you need to first build a secure system and then add a specific vulnerability that can only allow you to do very specific thing. If you fail that, and you have like hundreds of hackers trying to hammer your system, the system is gonna melt down. Okay, and this happens actually quite often. How you avoid that? Instead of having thousands of hackers hammering your system, you reduce it to hundreds, so that the chances are lower, and you can manage better the things. And the other thing, you want to build a community, so you want to bring the people there. So you also have to limit the number of people that you are flying in for the competition. So for ACASAT, for the fourth edition, the qualifier event was hosted the 1st of April and was online, of course, and it's open to everybody. Okay, only the top 5 teams will qualify. Actually, to be honest, the top 4, because there was the previous year winner that was automatically qualifier. So very few spots there, and so to actually being able to compete, we basically call the full team that you see there in our lab in Milan. This is a university lab where we spent the 2 days, okay, because the competition is 2 days, no stop, okay? So we brought everybody there to be physically there so that we can communicate effectively. There were 381 teams that actually took part in the competition, and those are the scoring teams, okay? Not the registered teams, are teams that scored at least 1 point. There is no data on the actual amount of teams. You see how many people, this is just one team hours, okay? So a lot of people actually involved. Now, the competition runs for 2 days. It means we need to stay 2 days, okay? We don't go home because then we lose too much time. So I don't know if at the university they know that we had mattress in the lab, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, okay? So we don't spend time going home. We stay there. You don't really need to sleep a lot every night. So you need to sleep. That's fundamental. But you can sleep only 2-3 hours one night and still be able to properly function as a human being, working really, really hard. If you do it for several days, then you are completely wasted. And I know that for experience, so don't do that. But for one night, it's fine. So we basically, we had like 50 people there, and we were doing turns, actually, going to sleep and be awake and playing competition. So what do you do during this competition? It was a Jeopardy. A Jeopardy style, it means you had categories, okay, where you could pick and discuss, and those were the categories, okay? Error capturing flags, anomaly review board, the magician, okay? And that was the description of the category. And to me, that was basically all space math that I don't know, by the way. Neither me or my teammates, okay? So the only things that to me make sense is binary exploitation, okay? But still you had some, what I call space math involved, okay? To give you a few examples of space math, for example, there were challenges where you had to maybe do some orbit transfer of a satellite. So give me the commands to transfer this satellite from this orbit to another one. Okay? You solve that if you don't know any space math. The point is, it's a hacking competition. You don't need to solve the problem. You just need to convince the verifier that you solved the problem. Okay, so it turns out that if you put zeros, none, and nil in the right spot, okay, you may get the verifier confused and solve problems that in a different way. Okay, and we solved different challenges by putting zeros where you are not supposed to. One other example, though. You could do that on some challenges, but on other you had to do real stuff. I'll give you another example of one of the challenges that we had to solve during this competition. It was called Calm at Me Bro, and it was on the pure pawnage category, and the challenge was about reconstructing the position of a vessel. Okay, there is this vessel. You could input the position reads. Okay, every time, and because it's actually you get some reads from the sensor, okay, and then there is this system that is computing the position. And usually this position is computed with one weird thing that is called a Kalman filter, okay? That is basically a way to estimate the position based on reads with certain probability. It tells you you are in this position with a certain probability, and it was binary exploitation. So was a binary. We spent 26 hours reverse engineering the things to understand what was happening. We found a memory corruption where you could do a heap overflow, so you could change byte in the memory. And we went what we usually do, we go on the high road of trying to do code execution from the binary, from the memory corruption. That was not the intended solution. We usually do that in our team. We find one single vulnerability and we go down on the road, even if it's not what was intended. And it was like 20 minutes from the end. We were like in 6th position, and one guy figured it out. So basically, at the end, the verifier was just checking that you were zeroing all the position. You had to be in 0, 0, 0. Okay? So one guy figured out, instead of having code execution, maybe we can just convince the system to be in 0, 0, 0. And so we try to modify the confidence matrix of the Kalman filter. So it's basically a matrix that is multiplied with your number, and you get out other numbers. So we changed all the things there, and it was actually working. But we had a problem. Our system was putting out the scientific notation, and the verifier was not accepting the scientific notation. Okay, so we were close to 0, but because it was the scientific notation, the verifier was not accepting it. So, and it was like 5 minutes to the end. We were in 6th position, not qualifying. What we do? We had half team just inputting random numbers. Okay, hoping to get something that was automatically printed, not in scientific notation, so with all the zeros. And at the end, we made it by just having a lot of people typing a lot of numbers. So 5 minutes to the end, we made it. Okay, so it was extremely rushed. But I mean, at that point, we don't have the time to think properly. You have 5 minutes, you try whatever we got. And at the end, we end up in 2nd place, so we could access the final. Okay, with the other qualifying teams that are the first 5, because the Polish team was the return champion. Okay, so they were pre-qualified. Cool. So we made it, but because we love playing CTF, and also because our team was born to play DEF CON CTF, we also played another competition that was the qualifier for the DEF CON CTF, okay? And those teams, this other competition was hosted the same days of the final. So the qualifier was hosted before, but both the final were hosted the same days. Okay, we also qualified for the DEF CON CTF, and then they ask us choose which one of the 2 you want to play. Will you want to play ACASAT or DEF CON CTF? Okay, and that was a tough decision, but we said we're gonna play both. Okay, so. We don't want to miss anyone. So other teams try to do that in the past. And usually it's very bad because you don't focus on something. You spread the effort. But we won't miss it, either of the 2. So we decided to play both. how we play both competition in Vegas. So basically, those competitions were hosted at DEF CON, okay? We were playing 2 competitions, so we decided to bring everybody there, okay? Everybody there means more than 60 people, okay? So we flew in everybody, okay? And we could do that thanks to the sponsor. I put a link there just to thank them. And this is a huge logistic problem to flew in 60 people, and it's even more a problem when some of them is underage and or under 21, and it's the first time they are flying in the US. Okay, and just to give you a few things. Between 10 and 50 people got stuck in, I think, in Chicago because the second leg was, they missed the second leg. And when they arrived, they could not check in the hotel because they were late, okay? Beside booking flight for everybody. Okay, that is a nightmare, of course. And the other things that we learned from experience was you wanted to be there one day before because, I mean, some people say that jet lag does not exist. To me, it exists a lot, okay? And if you're playing a competition and you are arriving 2 hours before the competition from the other side of the world, you're not gonna be ready mentally to actually be awake for 3 days doing mental work. Okay, so we also had to do that. How we play to competition with 60 people in a conference? You cannot fit 60 people inside the conference. What they usually give you as a team, they give you a table with 8 seats. Or less, usually that is the stuff that you see there, that we call the arena, okay? And what we actually did is basically rent a huge room in a closed hotel, okay, where we can actually fit everybody. That is what we call the headquarters there. And because we were playing 2 CTF, we basically had 2 arenas that were closed while everybody else was staying in the headquarters. We actually measured the time that it took us to walk from the headquarters to the arena. We ran a race to see what was the fastest spot the day before, so that if for whatever reason you cannot communicate from one point to another, we had people ready to run from the headquarters to the arenas with an hard disk, bringing the exploit if needed. Why we had to do that? Because getting a decent internet connection in a hotel, it's extremely hard, okay? And in Vegas, for whatever reason, it's even harder. So every year we need to get out with a plan to get decent internet connection. So 1 year we brought those things that are radio bridges, okay, so that we could do bridges across multiple hotels to get connection from multiple hotels. So in this year, we were like in Seaside from Bellagio, and we had one of those in our room, the other in Bellagio. You build a radio bridge, so you have a backup connection there. Of course, we have also LTE and wireless connection. So we bought several SIM, one for each carrier, so that we can have the best connection. But the problem is, if there are 25,000 people in the same place, the LTE connection, whatever, is gonna suck. There is no way that. So we had like external antennas so that we could connect to cellular towers that are farther away there. But last year, fortunately, we found one of the spots in the hotel that they had an Ethernet plug with a decent connection. So we solved easily the problem by looking around. This, by the way, was behind a fridge. Okay, so I don't know if it was supposed to be our main connection, but it was good, so fine for us. We have 60 people. This is the layout of our room. We need the people to be working, and we cannot cable 60 people in that room. Okay, so we had to basically cable the entire room so that people could actually work from anywhere. So that was the plan for our sysadmin, is to have few access points around. We have some machines that we bring, what we call Iron Man and the other PC, where we host our internal services. So the things that you see here on right, that was sysadmin room. Nobody was allowed there, beside the sysadmins. Okay, and then we basically had few switches around for the room with cable going around. Now, this sysadmin that here told me we want to cable everything in fiber optic cables. Is it necessary? They said yes. So we had to buy the appliances to do so. Okay, and the plan was we reached Vegas, we ordered them on Amazon, and then they're gonna deliver it in 1 day, and that's easy. Problem is, we reached Vegas, we went to book it, to buy the appliances on Amazon, and delivery time was after the competition. So that was bad, okay? So what we did, we placed the order anyway, and then we went around in the city to see if we could find the appliances that we needed and buy it, and see whatever was faster. So I called, sorry guys, I need to stop this. Okay, okay. So basically, we placed the order on Amazon. We went around. We ordered it also from some shop, but at the end, the fastest was Amazon, that arrived the night before the competition. So we were good, good to go. Okay, so this sysadmin could have their CTF and cable all the room with the cabling, and end up with this plan. This was our network for the two competitions. So basically, we had the two arenas. Everything goes in a VPN through the cloud, and we have this is the suite, the headquarters, where we host many things. And also, of course, we have stuff hosted in the cloud for like brute forcing, whatever, high computation things that you need. To give you an idea there, basically, because internet connection is a problem, we hosted locally all the repositories that you could replicate locally. Main Linux distro, main like Python packages, everything was hosted locally, because if a challenge come up with a package, everybody is gonna download it. So we don't want to waste all the connection for downloading the same things, right? So we hosted everything locally. We even had our own copy of Stack Overflows, because, I mean, that's always useful. Okay, cool. So this is the things that we did for just for the network. But for the actual competition, it was the first time we were doing that. So we need to be ready for the competition. So we went going back the old competition and see what was useful or not. Okay, there is a satellite going around. So we built a tracker for the satellite, and we can do it in ASCII art, so we did it in ASCII art. Completely useless, but very beautiful. also to figure it out that the organizer were providing us with that data, but still very beautiful. So not wasted at all as things. And then the other things that we figured that we needed is basically something to do space math properly, okay? And looking at what other people have done in the past, that we figured out a few tools that we could use. That they are tools that allow you to do orbital computation easily, and quaternions, because quaternions are everywhere in space. And from an exploitation point of view, we figured out that the system was running RISC-V5 processor, so we prepared few reverse engineering tool for RISC-V so that we were ready. So the competition, okay? What was the competition? So basically, there were 5 teams, okay, and there is this satellite going around. So what you could do, you could basically run code on the satellite. There were an API to book some time on the satellites, okay, and you could upload your payload that was running on the satellite, interacting with the subsystem, and then get the data downloaded. So the challenge were running on the satellite. To interact with that, unfortunately, you could not bring your own antenna. We had people prepared for that, but they didn't allow us to directly contact the satellite. We had to use ground stations prepared by the organizer. There were 2 types of challenges in the final. One were called ground challenges. That is basically classic Jeopardy. They were used to you could use it to familiarize yourself with the system, okay? And then there were the in-orbit challenges that are basically system running on the satellite. And to interact with that, you had to upload some code to the satellite to interact with those. There were 4 ground stations around the world, okay, for communicating with the satellites. 4 ground stations is not a lot, okay, and that's one of the big issue there. So what we communicated to is the Moonlighter. Okay, Moonlighter was this CubeSat built on purpose for this competition. It is a 3U CubeSat. 3U means 30 centimeters times 10 times 10. Okay, you usually 1U is 10 by 10 by 10. 3U is 10 by 10 by 30. Okay, and it's that thing's up there. Okay, it's 30 centimeters there. It was launched with a SpaceX mission to refurbish the ISS, the International Space Station. It reached the space station the 5th of June, and the 6th of July, it was expelled from the space station and then was in orbit. Okay, and this is the code to track the satellite. It was supposed to be in orbit for one year and a half. I checked the other day. I don't see it in orbit anymore. You can check it with this code. It is unknown. Probably it burns in the atmosphere as end of life. Okay. It had few sensors, gyroscope, antennas, and it could do altitude control. It means it can rotate, but no thruster. Okay, so you cannot change the orbit or stuff like that, because that's dangerous if you give it to hackers. I argue not, but that's what they thought. Okay, so this thing was in orbit, and you could communicate. From a hacker perspective, what was the satellite is just a computer, okay, and to be honest, a shitty one. Okay, so it's a RISC-V machine. It's running Lua because we could run code only on a sandbox running Lua. It's 100 megahertz, okay? That is really slow. You could communicate with the system and was very slow. I going back with the very slow. One of huge problem that we had is running Lua, and none of us actually know how to write to Lua. Okay, that's a huge problem because the only thing is running Lua, but we know how to write Python. Okay, and that's good enough in 2023 because it turns out that if you take Python, you add you run it in ChatGPT and you fix it a little bit. Okay, you can get Lua, proper Lua, that can run on a satellite. Okay? I mean, only ChatGPT is not enough. You need to add something. But that works. Okay, that's how we brought Lua for the competition, for real. It ran on the satellite. So one problem is solved. The other huge problem is that there is a very slow feedback. Okay, and that's very different of what we are used to because when you are hacking a system, the feedback is usually way fast. And this is especially true in a competition. You have your binary, you could do thousands of attempts very, very fast. Okay, so your approach is, I got an idea, I don't need extremely precise, I can brute force something, I do it. If I can brute force, I do it. But here, the feedback is very slow. Why? Because to communicate with the satellite, you cannot always communicate. You could communicate with the satellites only when it's in visibility for one of the antennas. Okay? So when the satellite is above one antenna, you can send data, and the contact window is like few minutes. And then when it's on another part, there is no contact. You have no idea what is happening, okay? Until the next contact with the next antenna, okay? So what you could do is basically you could upload your script when visiting one antenna, and then you could download the result after when there is a second contact, okay? How often are the contacts? It depends on the launch. Okay, so there were a schedule, okay, on the contacts with the specific ground station that were available, and during the whole competition that last 2 days, we basically had 8 contacts with the satellite. That's not a lot. It means you have 8 attempts to whatever. Okay, and there were hours between one contact and the other. And that's a lot of time, because if you screw up one thing, it takes hours to fix it. Okay, and you guess it, we missed the first 2 windows because we had no idea of what we were doing. Okay, so we actually missed the first 2 windows. So let me give you an idea on the challenges that you had to solve. So, for example, one of the challenges asks you to change the orbit of the satellite. The problem is there is no thruster on that satellite. So, how you change the orbit of a satellite with no thruster? And the point is, the thing is, to solve the challenges, the only thing that matters is what the system believes. Okay, so what the system thinks is the orbit. How the system knows what is the current orbit, we have a system to do that is called GPS, Global Position System. That's how you know how the satellites know where it is. Okay, it communicates with other satellites, and then you know where it is. So how you change the orbit if there is no thruster? You fake the GPS system. Okay. Now, how you fake the GPS system? So the organizer, the intended solution from the organizer was to actually decalibrate the GPS, okay, so that you could basically change a little bit the orbit. But that's very hard because you need to know the math behind the GPS, okay? And way too complicated. Turns out that the GPS that was on board, and this was unintended, had a test mode. Okay, so you could enter the test mode and actually set the whatever value you wanted to be printed. Okay, and as far as I know, all the teams that saw that, they used the test mode. Nobody did the GPS math. It was way too complicated to do it. And you could do the same thing on other challenges. For example, there was this challenge where you had to take a picture of a red zone. Okay, so basically, there were points on Earth that were marked as red zone, and there was a control on the satellite. If you are pointing to this red zone and you try to take a picture, this system just doesn't allow you because you are pointing on a red zone. Okay, so how you do that? I mean, first you need to actually point the red zone, and that's the complicated part. Okay, you need to rotate the satellite to point the right direction, and then you still fake the GPS to let the system believe something. You are in another position. Okay. This is there very quickly on this. To give you also an idea of the challenge that basically allow us at the end to get over. It's basically there is a password check, okay, and it's done character by character. So you could do timing on the check. You send a password. If the checking time is taking a low amount of time, it means everything is wrong. But if you get the first character correct, then the checking time is taking a little bit longer. Okay, and if you get two characters correct, then it's a little bit longer. And this way, you could basically brute force each character. Now, this is an easy implementation on the machine. The hard part is to actually calibrate how much time, okay, how much delta time there is between one character and another. So we calibrated on our machine that is 3 gigahertz, whatever, and we send it into space, and it didn't work because that was 100 megahertz, so it was way slower, okay? So calibrating that was extremely hard. There is a smart solution that we didn't figure out. We basically put it, we divided by 10, whatever, and we hope it was good enough. Okay. The smart solution is to actually check multiple times the timing, so that if the character is not correct, you can go back and recheck. Okay. But nobody did that because, I mean, that's hard. So we spent the entire first day of the competition to solve all the problem. We had enough people, okay? And basically, by the end of the first day, we missed the first 2 windows, but there are other 4. So by the end of the first day, we solved all the challenges, but we didn't manage to upload the payloads. Okay, yet, because we were late. But we solved all the problems, so we are good, okay? We sent it during the night. During the night, there was like 6, 7 windows between one contact and another, so we are okay. We solved everything. By the morning, we're gonna win, okay? That was the plan. Then someone said, okay, let me check again what we have done. Okay, just out of curiosity. And it turns out that all the things that we had done, all of them were wrong. Okay? But the nice thing is we figured this out the night before, so before actually getting the feedback, because we double-checked. So we had the whole night to redo everything for the morning. Okay? And when the feedback came in the morning, everything was wrong. We didn't get any solution there. So we redid all the challenges. We submitted in the last 2 windows that were available, and at that point was done. We could not do anything more. So we were playing also the other competition, so we keep playing the other competition. We are done with this. And after a few hours, completely into the other competition, I got a message for a friend that actually went to check how the thing was going with that image there. Okay, I said, I mean, that's in Italian, but I said, for real? So there was this picture of us showing first. For real? Yeah, we won. Okay? And so in the room, let me see if this actually ran. So there is audio. There were like 4 people there. There were 6 of us, but we sent only 4 because we were playing the other competition. And at some points, you can see people clearly confused because don't know what's happening. You see Alberto agitating his hands in a very Italian way because they had no clue what was happening there. So it turns out that so we are at the yellow line here. Okay, so you can see that we are clearly in the bottom through the whole competition, but in the last 2 windows, okay, we managed to solve actually 2 challenges more than the other, and took the first place there. So and then that's how we managed to win the competition. After a few hours of the competition, this is our picture of the red zone. This is the actual picture that we took from the space, from the red zone. And I want to point it out one thing here as well. So if you see the picture of other teams, they are pointing right down to the earth for the red zone. Our is pointing on the side because we figured out that the check was done geometrically. So they were drawing like the square where the target would be. And if it was inside the picture, you get the point. But if you take the picture on the side, you get way longer, way more ground on the picture, okay? And because the check is done geometrically, you don't really need to see the red zone. It just need to be there geometrically, okay? So we took it on the side for that reason. Okay, so this is the team. This is the things that we have done. I would be very happy to take any question if you have any. Yeah.
So you had some system on the ground that you tested all the interesting Lua code on, and got to understand that the system wasn't working, and you need to redo everything.
So we didn't have an exact copy of the system, so we didn't have the complete feedback. For example, for the password checking, right? We had this sense that something was wrong because we were running it on high frequency laptop, and there was like a low frequency CPU. And then what we have done, we tried to simulate it during the night to see if that was the case, and very likely it was the case that we were wrong, right? So that we had to simulate things. We didn't have complete access to the feedback.
But you had like an QEMU or something that you were running the system inputs, etc.
Not the complete system, part of the challenges.
Okay.
Yeah, with QEMU, yes.
Quick question. When you are trying to do the live satellite hacking, the actual hardware is in orbit, meaning that it's more susceptible to things like cosmic radiation, random bit flips. When you're doing your actual attacks, exploits, do you have to account for that, doing multiple tries or whatever? Or does the existing software, hardware, and network layers, or all the abstraction layers already take care of that?
That's a good question. So depends on the challenge. We basically didn't have to care about that because the challenge if there was some bit flip happening, probably stuff would have not worked. And they didn't work for many attempts, so maybe that happened. The point is we have no idea, and we didn't take much care about that. But it was a very good point, yeah.
Thank you, great talk. 2 questions. Question number 1, did you really have a grand piano in your headquarters?
We did. It was an expensive room.
Related question, do you publish your budget for this operation?
Wow, okay. You can estimate the budget there. But maybe I can tell you later. It's not public, but I can tell you later. But we are in loss. We didn't. We didn't gain any money from the competition.
You had 60 people in there.
Yes.
What was the general composition of that 60 people? Were they all like deep binary experts, or was it you mentioned that some people just were scheduling experts and things like that?
So from a background perspective, we had most CTF player with different skills. So crypto, binary exploitation, web, whatever. Then, because it was a space competition and we really need someone that understands space, we had one person that was an aerospace engineer. And we had one person that was, actually 2 persons that were telecommunication engineer. So we had this one aerospace engineer that was telling people, probably you need to use this algorithm or this other, and the other people were actually implementing it. All very smart people, they can understand stuff very fast, but having one person that actually knew the subject was important, because otherwise it would have taken way more time to actually get to the solution.
You have one satellite for each team, or did all of the teams work with one satellite in orbit?
Yeah, it was a single satellite, and you had to book your time on the satellite. So each pass was split in 6 slots, and you had to book one of the first 5. Last slot was to reset. So you had an API to book one of the 5 slots, and there were competition on that.
Was it accounted for if, let's say, the 2nd slot crashes the machine and it has to wait for the 6th slot to reboot, and those other teams just lose their slot because someone crashed the whole thing?
Yeah, so it wasn't accounted. Basically, between one slot and another, there was a reset, okay? And one of the things that actually slowed us down was the fact that if you didn't stop your script before the end of your slot, you didn't get any output. So you print whatever as a debug, but you get the feedback only if it's properly shut down. So the first 2 times, the first few windows, we didn't know that, so we ran over, and we didn't get any feedback because of that. So it was accounted for that, of course.
I have a twofold question. One is, at which point did you learn that it's running Lua? Is it something you knew in advance? And the second is that, how was the architecture of the satellite? So was it enough to escape the Lua virtual machine, and could you use that to complete all the challenges, or were there multiple processors or something?
Okay, good question. So we figured it out during the competition. I don't know if it was in paper or somewhere. We missed it. We figured it out during the competition. So there was one explicit rule that if you got an escape from Lua and get code execution on the real satellite, you would have been banned from the competition. So we didn't try hard to avoid that.
Sorry, I might have missed this, but was the satellite put up there just for this purpose, or was it a different purpose?
It was built specifically for this purpose and was put it there specifically for this project. So yeah, well, it was expensive, I guess.
How did you do on the second CTF competition that you had, the DEFCON CTF?
Cool. So we end up in 10th position out of 12. Yeah. And we broke the scoreboard a couple of times, but that's sysadmin faults that having too much fun.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll leave there a few contacts for the slide.